श्रीकान्तो मातृस्य जन्य सर्वमङ्गलाजनकः शङ्करो महादेव त्वं वन्दे गजाननं शिवशक्त्या युक्तो यदि भवति शक्तिर्वृद्धं न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुं वतस्त्वामाराध्यां हरिहरविरिञ्चादिभिर्पि प्रणन्तुं स्तोतुं वा कथं कृतपुण्यप्रभवति। नमस्ते नमस्ते महादेव शंभो नमस्ते नमस्ते दयापूर्ण सिंधो नमस्ते नमस्ते प्रपन्नात्म बंधो नमस्ते 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 महेशा. Today we will make a brief attempt to understand the Holi festival and the Holika Dahanam and or the Kama Dahanam as it is celebrated in different parts of world and India. Now, the Trayodasi before the Holi Purnima or the full moon of Holi is celebrated as Kama Dahana and Holika Dahanam. Now, there are many stories, but we will discuss two most important stories that Guruji used to tell me. One is about the Kama Dahanam. Kama is none other than Manmada. Manmada, if you look at the name, Matha. Matha means stirring. Man means your internal will. The one who continues to stir your internal will is called Manmada. And Manmada, as we have discussed in the previous episodes, is the son of Lord Vishnu and Mother Mahalakshmi. This Manmada continues to stir our will and Manasu in the form of desires. When King of Gods, Indra, commanded Manmada to go shoot the floral arrows on Shiva in order to generate the lustful desires in the yogi Shiva on the mother goddess Parvati, who was serving the yogi Shiva in order to convert the yogi to Bogi, so he can get married to mother goddess Parvati and therefore they can beget kids and the to be born son can go kill the Rakshasas. Now, this was the whole intent with which the god of kings Indra asked and commanded Manmada to go shoot the floral arrows. Manmada very respectfully declined and refused initially, but then, given that declining the Raja or the king's order or the Rajadhikaram will be a Mahapapam, he went home knowing very well that he's not going to return back home and told goodbye to his wife Rati Devi. And Rati Devi said, go perform your duty as your king has ordered and commanded. I will pray to the mother goddess Maha Sumangali, Lalita Mahabhattarika or Mother Divine, and she will take care of my husband. I have full faith. Oh, my Lord, go. And she hugged him and said, wished him good luck and sent him to perform the duty. When Manmada went and shot the floral arrows on Shiva, we know Shiva opened his third eye and burned down Manmada into ashes. That very episode happened on this Trayodasi. What is the importance of the Tithi Trayodasi? Traya means 3, Dasi or Dasa means 10. The third day after the 10th Tithi, okay, or Dasami. Now, when we are inhaling the air, we take the so-called oxygen or prana, and internally when this air goes, it does split into 10 different airs, which are 5 major vayus that support the prana and 5 minor vayus that support our life-sustaining force in the body. Now, the reason we do namaste is the 5 hands on the right and the 5 hands on the left, 5 fingers on the right and left when they're joined. These 10 airs that are there in every living being get charged up. Therefore, we do namaste. And when we do namaste and bow down, we are saying these 5 plus 5, 10 airs that are continuing to function in my body are maintaining the Shivatvam. Without this Shivatvam, this body will turn into Shava or dead body. And Shava plus E becomes Shiva. E is the Bijaksharam of mother or the Shakti. So whether you talk about the breath, the blood movement, the inhale and exhale, and every movement is to do with the potential energy of Shiva being converted into the kinetic energy of Shakti. Now, why are all beings called Pashus and Shiva alone is called Pashupati? If you look at Pashu, Pasu, of the five main airs, we have Prana, Apana, Samana, Udhana, Pasu, Pasu, right? And this Pasutattvam essentially is any one of us who's inhaling the air has to exhale, because that's what defines the Pasutvam in us. And the one who does not have to inhale and exhale is the Pasupati, the one who controls this breath, and there's no need for him or her to inhale. Now, Prana Vayu essentially is the one that sustains the life in our body, which we typically in the loosely called English, we basically call it oxygen. Then Apana is the one that pushes the urine out, the stool out, and all the bodily fluids when they need to be expelled out. Apana is the one, the bodily fluids and bodily air is generally pushed down by Apana, and this is very active, navel and down through, the anus, through the genitals, and essentially to maintain body in a healthy condition by removing all the waste like the semen, the ova, everything is expelled out of the body by the apana. Then samana. Samana is essentially the vayu that continues to help us maintain the internal yogatvam or the balance. What does yoga mean? Yoga means the internal balance of the body with the external surroundings of nature. And that is yoga. This is done by samana. Therefore, our left and right hand, left part of the body and right part of the body are growing almost equally. Samana is the one that does. Then we have the Udana air. Udana essentially is the one which enables the movement of organs and organ functions. One of the better examples is if I'm talking now, the tongue is moving. It's the Udana air that ensures how much the tongue needs to move, when it needs to touch the palate, when it needs to touch the floor in order to make the right pronunciation. That is Udana. So a Pashu is the one that is controlled by these five airs. We discussed prana, apana, samana, udhana. And then the fifth one is in the Pashu, we have, after the four, we have the Vyana air. Vyana actually is maybe the easiest example is what we call in English an adrenaline rush. Right? Whenever we need an extra boost of energy, suddenly, you see, let's say, a snake, the amount of energy you get to jump away, the fight or flight scenario is enabled by the Vyana. Then we have the five minor airs that we talk about, which are Naga, Kurma, Krakara, Dhananjaya, and Devadatta, right? And Naga, if I remember it, the Dhananjaya and Devadatta, yes. Naga essentially enables that we are able to, one enables the blink of eyes, the other one enables belching and hiccups, and Devadatta essentially enables smelling the fragrances for us, and then Dhananjaya is the one that is the last air to leave the body even after a Shivam turns into Shavam. And this Dhananjaya air is which helps in the body getting bloated and decomposing and releases the body, the last one. And when the final rites are done, the descendants, the son typically says praise to the body of his parents when he's doing the final rites to have Dhananjaya leave the body peacefully and go. Now we discussed about Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Dhananjaya, and Devadattas in brief. These are the 10 Vayus. These, every time we inhale, we basically are controlling the prana, which internally goes and spreads into these 10 airs, and the five major airs and the five minor airs enable the bodily functions of when should the salivary glands, salivate, and when should the eyes blink, maintaining the moisture in the eye, reducing or eliminating the dryness of the eye. And whenever we feel irritated, how does Devadatta Vayu trigger the sneeze in us in order to expel that, either the vacuum or paucity of air, or to inhale, more air to fill in the residual air in the lungs. Now, this is how the prana is protected in the form of 10 airs. From the first day of the Tithi to the 10th day, the Dasami in the lunar calendar of the Tithis, what happens is every day each of the air is predominantly active in our body. And the Ekadasi, which is the 11th day, the Dwadasi, the 12th day, the Trayodasi. These are the 3 days where all the 10 airs that have been charged in the previous 10 Tithis, or the 10 days of the lunar calendar, which lunar calendar is of 15 days length, as on the 15th day, either you get a full moon or a no moon, depending on you are in the waxing or the waning phase of the moon. Now, the first 10 days is when these 10 airs get charged. Every day, each of the airs will be dominant, and doing a pranayama essentially charges up the rest of the airs on the other days also. So you basically are maintaining a balance and equilibrium inside the body with respect to the dominant air of the day, along with other airs as well, by doing different kinds of prana yama. Yama means regulation and control. Now, from the 11th day onwards, the 11th, 12th, and 13th day are essentially to do with our 3 states of general existence: Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Jagrat is being awakened. Now, the 11th day Ekadasi is when we fast. Typically, that represents the awakening state. When you fast, you generally can't sleep. And the 11th day, therefore, is a day of cleansing of all the organs that we generally feed the rest of the 14 days of the lunar calendar. So we do fasting on the 11th day to charge up the state of awakening, in order to get rid of all the diseases of the body, in order to recover and restore and recharge the state of ease. And Dwadasi, Ekadasi fasting is generally completed by eating after the sunrise on Dwadasi. Therefore, the current trend of intermittent fasting essentially has been proposed and been followed by all the Sanatana dharmics from time, eternal, and many eons ago they have started, right? Because these are the yogic practices. And the Dwadasi state, the moment you eat the food, you feel little lethargic and sleep. That is the day when you basically are recharging your swapna. Uh, and swapna is a state of transition, going from awakening to sleep, or we're coming back from sleep to awakening. The Dwadasi is that. The Trayodasi is a Sushupti, deep sleep, the deep sleep state of Sushupti. And therefore, Trayodasi is when we basically charge up the deep sleep state. And the Chaturdasi, Chatur is 4, Dasi is 10, the 14th day in the lunar calendar is the Turiya state. A practitioner or sadhaka who is on his or her journey of going inward in order to realize her or his true spiritual up north. On the journey, they will be doing meditation and sadhanas, which will help them to the 4th state of existence, which is not for everyone. And it only comes by practice, which is like you're sitting in meditation. People don't know whether you're sleeping or you are awake. That is the 4th state. And the 15th day is connected with the 5th state, Turiyatita, where you are able to connect with the inner voice and have a conversation with that inner voice, which we often call as the Bhagavad Gita, the dialogue with the divine that is there within us. Now, when Kama was burnt on the 13th day, essentially it denotes, and this is the first Chaturdasi after Mahashivaratri, after doing a night of awakening on the 13th day, which the Chaturdasi Tithi, which marks the deep sleep state, we are burning the Kama, or Shiva burned the Kama, the yogi in us, who is always trying to be distracted and therefore engaged in the bogi state by the kamas, or kama is essentially desire. The one who triggers the desire is called kama, and kama is, other meaning of kama is a desire. Now these desires are the ones that will essentially make us either go into deep sleep or go absolutely sleepless. When people consume something, intoxicants that they're addicted to, they get into a state of deep sleep, and when they don't get what gives them a high, they will lose sleep over it. And today, those spiritual aspirants who follow the yogic rules of sadhana, the whatever Yoga Sutras that Patanjali reintroduced. Patanjali was not the first one to give. They have existed from the moment Vedas came into existence. Vedas are sounds that are there eternally. We just need to tune into, just like the radio waves are there everywhere. But you have to tune into the channel. Your radio transistor has to tune into that frequency in order to listen. Similarly, through your internal practices of yoga and meditation, you have to tune into that Vedic sounds. Therefore, you will be able to learn Veda. Therefore, Veda is always taught orally. You can't learn Veda by reading a book, okay? Because it's an oral tradition. Now, on the 13th day after Mahashivaratri, Kama has been burned down and Ananga has been born, the one without organs and desires. When Kama was burned down, his wife and Rati Devi, who's a great devotee of Shiva's wife Parvati or Lalita, prayed to her saying, "Mother, please restore back my husband." So Mother Goddess Lalita became Kamakshi. She looked at her devotee's husband with infinite mercy that a mother has in her eyes. And therefore, Kama plus Akshi, the desire fulfilling eyes, the one who has the desire fulfilling eyes, fulfilled the desire of Rati Devi, bringing back Kama to life. And from that day, Kama is called Ananga. This is the very same day where Vasistha Maharshi, the elder brother of Agastya, and the guru of Ikshvaku, or the Sun dynasty in which Rama was born, has composed the Daridra Dahana Stotram, which every fourth line says Daridra Dahana Dukkaya Namah Shivaya. Daridra Dahana Shiva Mantram, it's called a Daridra Dahana Shiva Stotram. And what is Daridram? Daridram is having a desire. When we have a desire, it either makes us go overboard or makes us feel that we are not accomplishing enough. Therefore, Daridram, or the one who is said to be in a state of Daridra, is one who has all the desires but are not getting fulfilled. In Shiva Rudranam Kachamkams, we say Daridram Nilalohita, the one. In this context, Shiva is being addressed as Daridra because he has no desires. Daridra is that state where one has no desires, but that's not applicable to the majority of mankind. It is applicable to a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, it's applicable to a Ramana Maharshi, it is applicable to a Bharati Tirtha Mahaswami, who are, the living Shiva Swarupas without any desires. They are the lotus leaves and lotus flowers that are there in the pond, in the water, but they never get wet. Now, that is the importance of Kamadahanam and the 10 thithis connecting to the 10 airs that are there in our body, which are derived from the prana that we inhale. And the 10 thithis, or the 10 days, charge these. And the 3 days, Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Trayodasi, are when we basically are charging the 3 states of normal mundane existence. And the 14th is our practice in order to go beyond these, the 3 states of existence. And depending on the sadhana and path we are following, some people sit in the moonlight and look at the moon, offer milk and pray to the moon, right? And that is on the Devi side, when we sit in moonlight and do Lalita Sahasranamam. On the
Amavasya side also is very powerful, where people pray to Kali, Veerabhadra, Kalabhairava. Depending on the tradition and the path, we follow different processes. Now coming to Holika Dahana, that's what a brief attempt on the Kama Dahana, why it is called Kama Dahana today. Holika was the sister of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, the two great devotees of Mahavishnu, Jayavijayas, who were cursed by Sanaka Sanandanas to be born as either be born as greatest devotees of Mahavishnu for 7 janmas or be born as greatest enemies for 3 janmas. So Jayavijayas, the doorkeepers of Mahavishnu, in Vaikuntham, Mahavaikuntham, chose to stay away from Mahavishnu for 3 janmas because it's a shorter period, and therefore, as the greatest enemies, and even as the greatest enemy, they continue to repeat the name of Mahavishnu. And Prahalada, the great devotee of Mahavishnu, born to Hiranyaksha, was basically Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu had a sister called Holika. She prayed to Brahma and got a desire that she should be completely protected from fire and fire cannot burn her. Now, when Hiranyaksha was trying to kill his son Prahalada, he was not able to kill him by throwing him into a pit full of poisonous snakes. Nothing happened. By throwing him into the ocean, nothing happened. Then Holika said, brother, maybe you forgot I am insulated from fire. So I will take him into fire where he can not run away. And as I will take him into an inferno, not even fire, and let the fire burn him, then I'll come back. And Hiranyakshu agreed to that proposal of Holika, and she made him sit on her lap and asked all the soldiers to light the fire. As the fire was burning, Prahalada started singing the chants of Lord Mahavishnu, the Narayana Bhakta that he is. And as the fire came, it became very intense. And this fire, which was getting intense and intense, was born from the Jwalagni of Shiva, Rudra's third eye, and which also triggered the genesis of the Maharudra avataram of Mahavishnu, the Narasimha avataram, which basically touched the fire. Therefore, that fire is no longer the fire of this bhumi, and it became the fire that came from other cosmos, and therefore the boon that was given by Brahma was no longer applicable to Holika, and that fire consumed Holika, protecting the devotee of the divine Prahalada. And therefore Holika Dahana is celebrated today. And the very evening, the next day of the Holika Dahan is when Lord Narasimha took the avataram of half human and half lion to kill the Hiranyaksha as per the boon that he has taken from Lord Brahma. What was the boon? He said, he asked Brahma that he should be immortal. Brahma said that's not possible. Then he asked, put a lot of conditions that he should not die inside, outside, should not die on by any creation of Brahma that exists today. Therefore, Vishnu had to take the avataram of half human and half animal. That too, not any animal. Narasimha, he became the king of the jungle, king of the animals, lion. So when we pray to Narasimha, what happens is the pasutvam in us is also contained and tamed by the lion. See how animals behave well when a lion is roaming around, and lion does not hunt whenever it sees an animal, only when it is hungry, right? That's when it hunts. So the moment we start praying to Narasimha, the animal or the pasutattvam in us is also tamed and contained. This is a brief attempt on the Kamadahana story and the Holika Dahana story, and how it is celebrated before the Festival of Colors. Festival of Colors essentially says the triumphant victory of good over evil. And therefore, people came out and celebrated by spreading the colors, which is an expression of freedom. that anybody and everybody could come out and celebrate without the fear that they had that was containing them within, where they were arrested within the houses because of the fear that they had given the adharmic rule of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and Holika. And that is a brief attempt for today. Stay blessed, spread the bliss around. Sri Matre Namaha.